he tells me you're still pissed at him.
I am. I always will be.
He goes, she's never gonna attend one of these events again because she's hearing from, he says, she's hearing from me. So first of all, there's a couple souls that are stepping forward. So first of all, your father passed. Okay, now what's also interesting is they also have a significant other that's here as well.
My first husband, yes.
Okay, he's here because right away it was actually your dad who pushed him forward to be able to speak. I gotta tell you that there's a lot that's here when I'm connecting. Because first of all, your father's here and he says to me, Matt, she would have never expected to hear from me today. And she would never expect that I was here and watching over her. He says, because there were issues between us here in this world, he says to me.
There was.
And your father says to me, the first thing that he wants to say, I need to ask her for her forgiveness because literally I pushed her out of my life, he tells me.
He's got my forgiveness. I'm the one that should forgive.
He tells me, listen, I was supposed to be your dad. I was supposed to be the one that was looking after you, he tells me.
He did look after me. I just pushed him away.
You think you pushed him away. But your father says to me, Matt, I also left this world with guilt, he says to me, because I felt like I wasn't able to repair things with my daughter. He says, so he's coming through right here and right now because of this. Because literally you think one way, your dad's thinking another. And your dad says to me, Matt, he says, there's one thing that I regret. He says, and I regret that I was not supportive of her decisions here in this world. He says, I wasn't a fan of some of the people that she was with, some of the things that she was doing, so on and so forth.
And he was right. He was right all along.
He says, it wasn't worth losing a relationship over. He says, as much as I tried to protect her, he says, I also had to let her live her life. And that was one of the hardest things. He says, because I felt like I pushed her away at the same time because you were trying to get your dad to understand. And in the beginning, when this had happened with your father, you were angry and you were upset. How come my dad doesn't want good things for me? How come my dad doesn't trust this person? How come my dad doesn't want me to be happy, right? When you're going through it.
Yeah.
But now when you found out, oh my God, this is what my dad was talking about. Oh my God, my dad was so right. He says, at the end of the day, he says, I was trying to protect her, but I ended up pushing her away. So you think that you just up and left, which you did. But yeah. The thing is that your dad also feels that he pushed you as well, because I didn't agree with her choices and decisions. And that's what he's telling me.
I should have listened to him right from the beginning.
Well, listen, that's why he's here. He says, I'm your dad, all is forgiven. He says, it always was forgiven. At the same time, he says, I wish that I was able to support you more, even though those were the choices that I didn't want you to make. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Because he says, that's what a father does. Your dad says to me, don't hold on to any regrets. He says, you've been living with a heavy heart ever since my passing. He says, and it pains you to even think about your dad because you feel like you replaced him within your life. He tells me that. And you feel like, oh my God, I trusted this person and I lost years with my father. And then my dad got sick. And then all these things had happened. And I never got to take back those moments.
That's right. I never got to tell him how sorry I was, how much I loved him.
Listen, you already did. The moment that your dad passed, he says, Matt, I knew how she felt about me. He says to me, Matt, I had to watch her suffer in so many ways. I don't want her to suffer anymore. She suffered through one, our relationship with one another, and two, she suffered because she went after people that truly didn't love her, he tells me. He says, and because of that, he says, you spent so much time suffering and going through things. But your sister had a different relationship with your dad. You were very close with your father.
I was.
And this is what's so crazy because he's saying to me, Matt, he goes, her sister's going to be saying, well, how come dad didn't come through for me? He's like, please let her know that I'm there and with her all the time as well. He says, but there were unresolved issues that were with me and her. And please know that your husband's here as well. He goes to me, Matt, he goes, she's never going to attend one of these events again because she's hearing from, he says, she's hearing from me. He goes to me, he says, and he tells me you're still pissed at him.
I am. I always will be.
And listen, you have every right to be. The minute you bring up my name, he goes, she's going to be so upset. She's never going to want to attend again. She's never going to want to be near you again.
Well, I'll attend you, but I never want nothing to do with him.
Well, I got to tell you something. He's here with your dad because that was the guy that your father did not like.
That's right.
First of all, I'm glad that you're open because most people would be like, Matt, there's no way those two would ever be in the same room together. There's no way that they would be in heaven with one another. But I have to tell you something, is that souls come through together for this reason. Doesn't mean that your dad and him are drinking beers on the other side and everything's good. But they're here for one reason, to look after you. And I got to tell you something, not everybody makes it to heaven. Not everybody goes to the other side. But for your husband, your first husband to be there, okay, he's there for a reason because he looked back on his life and he truly regretted what he did, much like you regret what happened with you and your dad. But he's also telling me, Matt, I'm not here to make excuses, he's saying to me. He says, but there were other things involved in my life. He says to me, I lied to her, he tells me.
Yeah.
And he also says to me when I'm connecting that there were substance abuse issues with him. He's telling me.
There was.
And Matt, he goes, that's the reason why I was the way I was. He goes, I changed who I was because of this abuse, he tells me. He tried to hide it from you. He wasn't very good at it, but he still tried to hide it from you. And he says to me, Matt, I let this come between everything. I let this come between us. He says, I changed the person that I was because he shows me being angry, being abusive, and doing all of these things. He says, and Matt, here in this world, I would have never taken responsibility for this. I would have never, ever, ever blamed this on myself. I would have blamed it on everybody else. That's how I was. And he's here today to talk to you sober, to talk to you clean, and to talk to you without those issues. And he said to me, Matt, I have to let her know something that's going to hurt, and she's going to be pissed, and she's going to be mad, but I have to tell her. He says, because I'm here without the alcohol, I'm here without the addictions, and I need her to know that I truly did love her when I met her. He wants you to know that. He needs you to know that. He says, I made all the wrong choices. He says, I took advantage of the relationship. I took advantage of her. He says, and at the same time, there was one thing that she always showed me, and that was love. And that was something that I never showed her back, he tells me. So he says to me that he wants to let you know that he doesn't expect for you to forgive him today. But he does want to say to you that you do deserve an apology for him. And he does want to let you know that he's sorry.
Does my dad know I'm remarried?
Dude, absolutely.
And it was to my childhood sweetheart?
Your dad knows everything.
Okay.
But the thing is that this is the message that I can speak to, because this is still a pain that you're dealing with every single day, because this man came between you and your dad. To you, you may have felt like you lost all these years and lost out on all these things, but I got to tell you that this man here, he says to me when I'm connecting with him, she was the only person in my life that actually showed me what true love was. And I could have had the world with her, but I chose, he says, to throw my life away. So at the end of the day, you feel like justice was not done, but I'm going to tell you that it was, because sometimes justice is served in other ways. You got back with your childhood sweetheart. You're remarried. You're living a life that you love. Yes. What happened to his life? He didn't have anybody with him when he died. He turned his back on everybody. And literally, he died alone. So know that one of the things that he's telling me is this. He says, at the end of the day, he says, I lost everybody in my life. He says, because of the way that I acted, the way that I treated people, and the way that I lived. I ruined my own life, he said to me. Nobody did this to me but myself. Please know that it may have taken all of these years for you to finally get the truth, to finally hear the truth. But it had to come from him. And know that that's one of the reasons why your dad forgives you as well. So please know that as hard as that hurts and as hard as that's painful, that he's telling you this for one reason, because when we hold on to hurt and pain, sometimes it's not put there by us, it's put there by other people. And sometimes it's not until we're able to resolve things that we're actually able to release that. And he doesn't want any of that pain or any of that hurt coming into your relationship now. And that's why he's here today. But know that your father's letting the both of you know that he is with you. He is a guardian angel that's watching over you and your life. He says, and I want to let you know that I am safe and I am at peace. All right. I'm going to leave you with that.